what were the words you were just using?
Stream.
It made me think of the mainstream. You were talking about how we want to be in the flow of it and that now.
Oh, yeah.
Someone said to me one time, because in my life, I've always been, you know, in my family, in my group, or whatever, I've always been the pioneer.
Mm-hmm.
The first to do this, the first to think this,
Yeah.
the first to whatever, you know, and like I'm 10, 20, 30 years off and ahead of everybody else in my circle of influence.
Mm-hmm.
And then he and I were talking about, you know, the mainstream. We think of the mainstream as being the establishment or the government or, you know, just our society and all that kind of stuff. And he says, no, you are the mainstream. Think of the way the ducks are. You know, there's the first duck, and then there's two ducks, and then there's three, and then you know, as they fly. And the one that's at the point, the pioneer one at the point, is creating the stream that everybody else is flowing behind. And that's really the mainstream. And I just felt so good, you know, for a change, looking at, you know, the pioneer as the mainstream.
Well, going back to what Ashley said, the reason we feel that way is because we're taught by society that if we step outside of society, you know, there's all these restraints. But to me, this is how I look at it. We're in a society, in a world, that is trying to make us become individual, empowered beings. Okay? So, what's the best way to become a spiritually empowered being? What do you need? You need somebody trying to take your power away. That's all you have in this reality. Okay? That's why it's everywhere. But that has to happen. It has to be that way in order for you to get it. Okay?
But what did you say? We're in a world where society is trying to make us what?
Trying to take our power away.
Oh.
Everywhere you turn, everywhere you turn, somebody's trying to control you, take away your power, take away your thoughts, take away your freedom, take away your solidarity.
I thought you said society's trying to make us empowered.
No. It is though. In a big cosmic way, I see it that society is trying to do that, even though it appears it isn't. Because by that sheer trying to take it away, they do the very opposite. And that's exactly how reality works. If I have water here, and if I take my hand and I shove it down through the water, what is, and this is the weird thing my mind does when it's by itself. I visualize this. If I take this force and I try to push this down, what happens to the water?
Oh, it's out.
Exactly. The further something gets pushed away, the further you're pushed into a negative situation, the more positive comes to the surface. That's exactly how reality is working. And if you look at the negative as negative, you don't see the picture. You need to be looking at what's coming to the surface to be clear. Because if I shove this down, all the current doing this, there's more waves that come out than go down, right? That's the way reality is. Society's trying to push you down. All these strong individuals come to the surface. That's what it's about. And you can rejoice in that, not point at society and say, oh, they're trying to take our power away. Actually, they're trying to empower you. Period.
Even if they don't know.
Yeah, they're playing a game. We're all kind of lost in our own way. They may think they're doing something, but that's how I choose to see it. And I just may be crazy, so I don't know if you need to listen to me. But that's the conclusion I've come to, which makes me a lot freer because I don't have to go around trying to fix a bunch of things because it's all perfect. You know, my favorite term now is it's perfectly fucked up. You know, it is.
And that's perfectly fine.
Yeah, and that's perfectly fine. Okay, well, that was a lot. That feels good. I blew a lot of steam out. Thank y'all. That was fun. Any questions on that? I really recommend for y'all that came up. Did you actually work on that? You know, you can sit there and hold this, and then actually work your kidney points at the same time. But think about stuff that you've taken on in your family, or the burdens that you've taken on in your work. And it's like I would recommend something like, I can help people, but it's not my responsibility to fix them. Okay? Seriously. And with you, Marcia, for you to keep working that, and it's like this working through and processing this suppressed anger and resentment that you got locked away of being in this body. And I want you to be like, you know, I love my body. And I know you do some of this, but acknowledge the negative and the positive at the same time. Because if you're just, you know, affirmations are tricky. I like affirmations, but affirmations are like slapping Bondo on a horrible dent in your car, okay? They don't necessarily fix it. And if you have a slight hit, the Bondo may pop off. So if you may be all like, oh, I'm so shiny and pretty, you know, and then the slightest little upset all that falls off, okay? So acknowledge the negative, work in that liver point. And I want you to work down that leg, okay? I know I've said this time before about that green light on the leg, green being the liver. If you just run that light up and down from that liver point to your big toe, running that meridian on a daily basis, I have no, well, my human side has a little doubt. I have to be honest. I'm 98.223 that you will get your leg working again. But you have to, but here it is. And why I have doubt is because there are
issues could be coming up.
Yeah, why I doubt is because not that. I doubt because there's places I'm not showing up 100% that are not giving, which is making me not have the reflect that I want to happen. It's me. So when Marcia isn't doing her thing, I know it's a reflection of me not doing my thing. You know, okay? So if she does that, I do believe on my highest level that her leg can heal completely and she can have her freedom back, and that she would clear that out of her ancestral line. But she has to do that.
And she can walk without any
Hell yeah.
residual polio side effects.
Yeah, I totally believe that.
Yeah,
On a high level.
I believe
When my
that.
ego comes in, it's a little like, I'm pretty sure about that.
Well, I like what you said about that reflection of you, but
Yeah, that's why I can't. Here's the thing. When you realize that everything that happens is a reflection of you, I can't judge her. I can't judge her for not doing what I think maybe she should be doing, because I do the same fucking thing. How can I judge her, right? So, but I'm going to put a clause in here because there's some other people in here that have things that are going on that the reflective isn't exactly like that. Sometimes when somebody's reflecting something, you acknowledge it, but it doesn't mean you have to stay in it, okay? You understand what I'm trying to say? If you're in a negative relationship and you're seeing that there's a reflection there within you, it doesn't mean you have to keep putting yourself in that phase over and over. You get it, you change it within you, and you change the reflection, period, okay? Okay.
And could it also be that there could be part of that you said 0.98 point something, that point something.
Yeah.
Could it also be some other issues could come up too?
Oh yeah, totally. Yeah. But I believe if she worked that one thing, the other things will come to the surface. Because the further she pushes down on this issue, the more the stuff comes up. That's why when I'm tapping on something, if I don't know, if I just start tapping, stuff will pop in your head. Always. And the cool thing about that is it's like enlightenment. The more, if this room was completely dark and I lit a candle, the longer that candle's lit, my eyes adjust. I go from seeing just a small area to a bigger and a bigger and a bigger area. That's what the self-help's about. You keep focusing on one thing, you begin to have the expansion. You go, oh, that ties to that. You tie that together, you go deeper and deeper, but you got to keep moving. It's that emotional movement. It's the emotion that you got to keep moving that we stop moving with, which stops the forward progress, which then reinforces the doubt. Because it's like, I didn't get anywhere. Well, you stopped. So, I'll be sleeping good tonight. Burned off some. I must have tapped. Marsha must have helped me tap into some of my liver. His liver's really pushy energy. It's like,
So when you're working on someone, are you seeing that expansion?
It depends. With her, I was seeing energy kind of going down into the earth and just releasing that liver issue. It depends. You can do that. You can purposely visualize lots of things, like seeing somebody expand into the environment's cool. I like that.
Was it coming up for you rather than?
Not in the moment, no. When I'm tapping on something, I'm trying to see it on the physical, mental, and emotional level. And whatever shows up, I try to work that into what I'm saying. Like when I was talking to Shelby, it was different. We kind of went into the ancestral thing. And sometimes you don't have to say much because she started working on her own self, right? Which is awesome because that's the emotion you saw moving was her processing stuff. And we don't have to talk about it. It isn't like, I love talk therapy has its place. But there's a place where you talk about the same problem over and over and over, and all you do is strengthen the problem by continue talking about it, right? We don't have to go into all the depths. Thank you, Donna.
Thank you.
That's
okay. Granddaughter Skypes tonight.
Okay. Take care. Let's just end with a small little quiet meditation. I was going to go over, we'll do it next time.
What were you going to go on?
It's going to be a lot longer than I wanted. It has to do with being, how we come into restriction, but we'll have to do that another time. So let's change the energy and slow it down.
John's theory of everything.
Oh, yeah.
Love that. Does it take a long time?
Takes a lifetime. Lifetimes. So what's interesting is, you know, I had my own release from our interaction tonight. So even though you don't get up there and get tapped on, your energy's in this process. That's the cool thing about collective work, group work, is when somebody makes a shift, you're attached to that, you somehow make a little bit of that shift too. And that's what speeds the process up for you, to be attached to any group, whether it's like Ashley does the yoga, that's an excellent way to be tapped in too, because all those things relate to one another. So,
because every person you've been working on since I've been coming here, I can relate to everyone.
yeah. It's the human condition, right? So, right. Whether it was past or present. So let's just find a comfortable position to sit in.
Can we shut this off in a way?
Sure. Shelby, it's right behind you. Perfect. So after all that high energy, let's take a moment to focus inside. Focusing on your breath. I'm also being drawn just to think about what we went over tonight. See where it fits to you and let it kind of process and filter. Let that, go ahead and jumpstart that process, because when you attend something, attend a group, whether it's a church service or wherever you go, that stuff penetrates into your consciousness. Just be aware of what came to the surface for you from the conversation today and the interaction. Acknowledge it. And give the intent that you'll be able to mentally and physically integrate what was brought up for you tonight so that it can become part of you in a positive way, releasing restriction and moving you more into expansion. We come into these bodies taking on restriction, learning where we need to expand. Some of those paradoxical mind trips. So simply by looking at the restriction in your life, it shows you where you need to expand, where you need to expand your limited consciousness, where you need to open your mind. Bringing your focus to your heart, listening for, trying to feel your heartbeat. Life is distracting and we tend to lose touch with our own hearts. We can't even hear them beating. We can't even feel them anymore because of society's restraints, what they've placed on us, what we've bought into. But like we talked about tonight, that was on purpose, so you can learn how to expand again. But you have to get back in touch with your heart, with yourself. Look at the restriction showing you where you need to get back in touch, where you need to expand yourself. where you stopped loving yourself, someone, or something else. Visualize your heart beating in your chest. It's the center of your chakra system. It's the organ that never ever rests, thank God. It's always going, even when you're asleep. And we all, unfortunately, take advantage, forgetting to be grateful for that. Another reflect of that is that the sun is at the center of the solar system. We're all sons and daughters of God, Spirit, the cosmos, universe, whatever you want to call that, force. It doesn't matter. It's not picky about the name. It's more interested in your feelings about it than the name you have for it. It all comes back to the center of your being. Just as our soul system reflects, it's all about the center. The Son of God. And we are all sons and daughters of God. Not one more important or less important than the other. So imagine your heart beating. Strong blood flowing through your body, going to the extremities, the tips of your fingers, the top of your head and your toes, and then coming back to itself. Going out to the extremes, to the extremities, and then coming back to self. Another reflection of how we should live. Always coming back to self. No matter how far you go out, how far you get away from yourself, you've got to come back eventually. And it all works out to make you do that, if you have trouble finding your way back. So just focus on your heart, and then take your hands, placing your palms over your chest. And I want you to visualize giving your heart, yourself, healing energy. I know myself and the people I tend to draw around me are empathic givers and caretakers. And the funny thing about that is we're supposed to be learning to love ourselves too. You have to do it. You can't pour out your heart, empty your Holy Grail cup, and expect to get very far. You've got to be refilling it. You've got to love yourself, nurture yourself, and feed yourself in healthy ways. And those healthy ways start with every choice you make, every moment of your day. Just focus on your heart, a few moments of silence, sending love, gratitude to your heart, thanking it for keeping you alive, thanking it for housing your passion, your desire. Feel the warmth expanding in your chest. Feel that fire building. That's why passion is associated with fire, because your heart is the seat of the fire element. When we lose our passion, the fire goes out, and we experience what is referred to as heart dis-ease or heart issues. Love yourself and always remember to come back to yourself. No matter how far you go out or how far you get off track. And on one level, there is no off track because it all leads to growth. Once you wake up, though, you're able to choose more the path you want. And that comes back to being able to honor your heart more by being able to choose for your heart and for yourself. So slowly begin to come back to your physical body, bringing back this awareness of your heart with you. Don't just disconnect from it. Seriously, think about the last time you really gave your heart any attention outside of doing some exercise or some pain coming. How many times do you acknowledge it? Think about it. Feel it. Bring that awareness back. And as you go through this next week, remember your heart and remember yourself. Because in the end, that's all you're left with. Slowly move your body. Take your time. Alrighty, that was it.